All right. Well, Michelle Spina is here with us today. Give her a round of applause from SolarEdge. She's been a guest star on the Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent, which you can go back and listen to again at the Soligent YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us here today. To all of our customers and potential new customers that are tuning in, the number one question I get from customers every day. By the way, I'm Josh Brum, Energy Storage Manager here at Soligent, the largest pure play solar distributor in the Americas. All right, so the number one question I get as Energy Storage Manager here at Soligent is, how do you sell storage? How do I teach my team how to sell storage, especially under NEM 3 in California? So a lot of inquiring minds want to know. That's why we joined forces with one of our best partners, SolarEdge. They've got some amazing strategies on how to sell concepts that may help you to become more successful in selling energy storage for your customers and thriving under NEM 3 in California. Not just existing, not just maintaining, but thriving using energy storage under NEM 3 in California. So we're excited that you're here. Thank you so much for participating with us in the Soligent Storage webinar series. Again, this recording will be uploaded to the Soligent YouTube channel. Go there afterwards if you'd like to check it out on demand. Also, as well, if you'd like a personalized training, Michelle and her team, happy to join us, and you and your sales team for a one-on-one sales training. If you'd like to organize that with us, email me if you're interested, storage@soligent.net. That's storage@soligent.net. Thanks so much for being here. Without further ado, let's learn all we can. Let's educate ourselves. Michelle Spina from SolarEdge, NEM 3 Strategies, Selling Storage with SolarEdge and Soligent. Take it away, Michelle.
Thanks, Josh. Gosh, always bringing the energy. I just wanted to wave at everybody, say hi. I will turn my camera off as well so we can jump in. So I'm the Sales Education Manager here at SolarEdge, and like Josh said, we are doing a lot of training on NEM 3 and how to win in NEM 3. This is, I think, number 68 in terms of training on NEM 3 that I have done in the last 3 months. So definitely seeing people getting the hang of it, luckily. I know that it's been a tough road for some of us, but the good news is people are getting the hang of it. So I want to talk to you about some of the strategies we've seen work and some of the tips we have. So just a reminder for everybody, of course, we know that the major thing here is the export rates. But what we've noticed is sales reps really get into the swing of things when we talk about the term of NEM, and we've all gotten really used to saying 20-year term, right? But the NEM 3 environment, all customers will be signed on for a 9-year term. So that's something that we do need to shift in terms of mindset. Additionally, the true-up bill is monthly, not annually. So what that means is, if a homeowner owes something for that particular month, it will no longer be a statement they're getting in the mail, but a bill. So if they owe something on that bill, they will have to pay that on a monthly basis. Here's the good news: if they have credits, those will roll over to the following month. So just a quick note. And then oversizing permitted by no more than 50%. So 150% oversizing, essentially, of that utility bill of previous 12 months of usage. So those are the major changes. In this environment, and this is an example, PG&E weekend schedule, just one schedule. But in this type of environment, self-consumption is key. And I like to say to homeowners and to sales teams that we want to touch the grid as little as possible, whether that's importing or exporting the energy. Because if you notice, on average for export at any given hour, homeowners are making an average of 5 cents a kilowatt hour. But what are we paying? On average, about 45 to 50 cents a kilowatt hour. So if we're making 5 cents, but we're paying 45 to 50 cents, it's not very advantageous to export, right? But we have these 2 hours in September that we really want to leverage, where we're making about $3 a kilowatt hour. So at SolarEdge, what we really want to do is be able to automatically discharge that battery when it's advantageous for the homeowner. And luckily, our backend allows us to do that. So we will discharge the battery to the grid and export to the grid during what we call these power hours, so that that homeowner can make money by exporting to the grid. That's really the time when those homeowners will get the most credits that they can then roll over and utilize for the winter months to offset their utility bill. Okay, so let's talk about some NEM3 scenarios just to lay it out. So here's a scenario, and use the question box to ask questions or to put comments in. I do want to make sure we're keeping this interactive. So the homeowner has a home hub inverter and just wants to add a battery to an existing system. If that homeowner wants to add a battery to an existing system and they have a home hub, will they stay in NEM2 or be put into NEM3? Does anybody have the answer for us? Oh, yes, this is an easy one, right? If you add a battery and a backup interface to the existing system, they'll be grandfathered into NEM2. So that homeowner will stay in NEM2 if they're already in NEM2 in their existing system. The utility wants homeowners to go battery, right? So they're trying, in all of this NEM3 environment, what the utility is trying to do is get more people to go with a battery solution, because it allows homeowners to become their own power plant, essentially, but also it allows the utility company to leverage the solar energy when it's advantageous for them in those peak times. Okay, so here is a second scenario. Homeowner has an HD wave solar only inverter. So this is a solar only inverter and wants to add a battery. Now, is this going to be staying in NEM2 or throwing over to NEM3 because they're having to swap out that inverter, right? There's the hint. Are they going to stay in NEM2 in this scenario? Oh, I see a couple of different responses here, mixed bag. So here's the answer. We can swap out that inverter because this is an HD wave solar only. We can swap out the inverter with a home hub of the same size and add a battery, and they will still be in NEM2. So as long as that AC nameplate rating is the same, they will stay in NEM2. Here's the tougher one. So the homeowner has a home hub or an HD wave, and they want to expand their system plus add a battery. So they want to add more PV. This is the tough one. Here's the really good news. So if this homeowner wants to expand their system, and as long as that expansion is not over 200% of the AC nameplate rating, then they will be able to swap out that inverter with the same sized inverter, expand their system over 200% or up to 200% of the inverter AC nameplate rating without being triggered into NEM3. So what does that mean? Here's a scenario. That homeowner has a 7.6 kW inverter. Let's say they have 8 kW on their house right now. On that 7.6 kW inverter, they can add up to 15.2 kW of solar and still stay in NEM2 because that AC nameplate rating staying the same on that inverter. So that's an advantage with SolarEdge because you're able to actually keep that AC nameplate rating and add more solar to the system without triggering NEM3, and that homeowner can stay in NEM2. We have customers right now doing this and have confirmed that we are able to do this in the large utilities in the NEM3 environment. Here's the caveat though, if you're upgrading to a larger inverter, because that's changing the AC nameplate rating, they will be moved into NEM3. So that is what's triggering NEM3 is if you change to a larger inverter. So here's the good news. California still has ample urgency. I travel around the country doing trainings for every state, and it's still definitely the most value for California residents because we have what I call the triple threat. increasing utility rates on average 7% this year. In some areas, over 30%. SDG&E said they're going to double their energy rates. Changes in policy like NEM 3, right? So we still have a lot of urgency to go solar, especially with a battery, and increased power outages, not just because of severe weather, but because our utilities turn our power off in these PSP events. So we still have what's called the triple threat, or what I like to call triple threat, in California to go with solar plus battery solutions. So in this environment in NEM 3, we see two different types of homeowners. We see storage for bill savings, which is definitely a mindset shift, right? Because usually we're thinking batteries equals more expensive. But in the new environment, this customer is now our solar only customer. Storage for bill savings. What's going to yield the best ROI for this customer? And then we still have those customers that are batteries for backup power. And we need to determine which bucket this homeowner falls into when we're talking to them through needs analysis. We still have a lot of customers that need that resiliency and predictability and safety with backup. And then we have some customers who don't need that and just want to go solar only, which is the solar for bill savings with a battery that doesn't include backup, but is only for self-consumption. So let's dive into what that means. So here's kind of SolarEdge's three different value statements when it comes to our battery, three different options for your homeowners. So SolarEdge does offer up full backup. So if your homeowner does need full backup for their home, here's a quiz question I think most of you will know. How many batteries can we add to one inverter? Anybody know that question? On the SolarEdge batteries, how many batteries can we add to one inverter? To one inverter. So 3 batteries per inverter and 3 inverters per house. So what that means is a total of 9 batteries if that homeowner really needs it. Yep, several of you said 3. Awesome, good to see it. So 9 batteries total if that homeowner needs it. And so we have the capability of going full home backup. We also have the capability of essential home backup. So what this means is the must-haves in an outage. Usually for homeowners, what does that mean? The fridge, the lights, the TV, maybe a portable AC heater. And in that case, it's 1 to 2 batteries. So we have the capability of doing that for backup capabilities. And then for the homeowners that have zero pain when it comes to blackouts, maybe they have not had a blackout for, let's say, years, 1 to 2 years plus. We have a solution for them that allows them to use the battery as a bucket to store their energy and utilize it at night. And this is what we call the self-consumption battery or the rate saver solution with SolarEdge. So this is simply allowing your homeowner to become their own power plant, and it allows that homeowner to leverage the energy that they use to charge the battery at night, so that they're, again, not touching the grid, right? That's what we want to do, is not touch the grid. I have a good question that just came in. Is the grid required? Can SolarEdge go off grid? So great question. The grid is still required in all of these scenarios. So we're still a grid tied solution. These are not off-grid solutions. So why would we want to go with a solution that doesn't have backup capabilities? It's pretty simple. So if you're an installer who hasn't gotten into batteries quite yet, this rate saver solution without a backup interface is a very easy way to seamlessly integrate into the battery environment. Because as we know, the most expensive part of a battery installation and also the most complex part of a battery installation is setting it up for backup. That means a critical loads panel, that means an electrician on site, right? So this is a much simpler installation for your crews. It eliminates the backup interface. It also eliminates the critical loads panel. It's really just a heavy box that you're putting onto the wall to use for self-consumption. So this is also a lower payback for homeowners. And what we're seeing is a lot of installers are using the same solar crew. The people that are putting glass on roof are the same people that are installing this battery on the side of the wall, because really it is very similar to just installing a solar panel. It's 2 MC4 connections that are going into this battery, and it's simple wiring for a self-consumption only battery. So here's just a quick diagram of what that would be in relation to inverter to the battery. And again, this is a much easier installation, takes much less time and less components, so less expensive for your homeowners. So let's talk about how we figure out which customer we're speaking with here. Are we going to put them in the bucket for solar only, storage for bill savings, or batteries for backup power? And really how we do that is we talk about the last time they were in a blackout during the needs analysis. I like to call this painting the picture for the homeowner. So ask the homeowner, when was the last time you were in a blackout? What was the longest blackout you've experienced in your home? What was most uncomfortable about the blackout last time? This allows you to paint the picture with the homeowner. Now, a lot of times this customer will say something like, well, all the food went bad in the fridge. My kids were driving me nuts, and they didn't have any lights. They didn't have any games. So this is allowing you to make a list of what that homeowner needs backed up in their home. But what if that homeowner said, when you said, think about the last time you were in a blackout, what's the longest you've experienced? They say, we have never had a blackout here in this house. Maybe that homeowner doesn't need backup, right? So this is now somebody that you're thinking, let's look at these buckets one more time, right? The buckets of storage for bill savings or batteries for backup power, right? So maybe that customer that has no pain and says, I've never had a blackout in this house, just needs that battery for self-consumption. And this is really how you determine that. So painting the picture with the homeowner in the needs analysis. Now, I think the most challenging part that we're seeing from sales reps is how the heck do I explain NEM 3 to homeowners? Number one rule is don't use the word or term NEM 3, right? Because most homeowners have no idea what you're talking about when you say NEM 3. They don't have the solar baggage that we have. And so let's start fresh, right? Let's talk about how we utilize solar in California today and get them excited about how they can transition their home to solar today. We don't need to talk about what it was versus what it is now. So I like to say, Mr. Homeowner, we want you to become your own power plant. How we're going to do that is we're going to run your home on solar during the day when it's the highest production time of day, but we're also going to store the energy during the day so that you can utilize it later on at night. So Mr. Customer, if you've noticed on your utility bill, you actually have time of use rates. Do you know what that means? And talk to the customer about time of use a little bit. So essentially what that means is you're being charged about 3 times more during the most high demand times of day from the utility company. So what we want to do is we want to ensure that you're not touching the grid at that time, but instead we're transitioning your home to the energy you stored during the daytime hours. So we're going to store that energy in the morning when you're producing a lot of energy, and then we're going to transition your home to that stored energy during the high peak rates, and then take your home throughout the night on that stored energy. So that's how I like to talk about utilizing a battery in self-consumption. If you notice, I didn't even use the word battery. I used the word storage, because what we find is a lot of sales reps will use the word battery, and of course, what's the misconceptions there, right? Batteries are too expensive. I don't need one. I don't have any outages. So we want to use the word stored energy or storage when we're talking about self-consumption only, because we want to ensure that that homeowner doesn't think that they have power in an outage or blackout capabilities or backup capabilities. So who's our perfect candidate for this self-consumption or rate saver solution is what we call it? Well, here's the primary objectives. We don't want to use power from the grid, and we don't want to export. So again, we don't want to touch the grid as much as possible. When we're sizing these systems, the considerations are daily consumption habits. They're much more important than the annual consumption habits, or more important than they have been before in terms of daily consumption. So of course, we know that in this self-consumption battery, critical loads are no longer relevant when we're sizing this battery, right? Because we're not backing anything up. We're using this as a bucket to store energy that we can utilize during the nighttime hours. So we don't have to think about critical loads. So let's talk about daily consumption. Why is that important? Well, remember, we want to transition the home to that stored energy at the peak times and also throughout the night. So if you have a homeowner that's working from home and they're utilizing energy during the day, so maybe it's a single person or two people working from home throughout the day, and they're utilizing their energy throughout the day, then that's going to be much different than somebody who works in an office all day and has 4 kids that are going to school all day, right? Because the bulk of that person's consumption that's working from home, that's going to transition where they're using almost an equal amount of energy in the daytime and in the nighttime. If we're talking about the family of 4 who are all at work and all at school during the day, but using the bulk of their energy at nighttime, they're going to be utilizing the bulk of their energy when they are leveraging their battery. So just remember, our bucket or our battery is 10 kilowatt hours. So how much will that cover throughout the day? On average, a homeowner, let's just say, uses 30 kilowatt hours a day. So are they using 2/3 of their energy in the daytime, or are they using 2/3 of their energy in the nighttime? And that's going to determine, are we going to put 1 battery on this homeowner's home, or are we going to put 2 batteries on this homeowner's home? Because we want to make sure that they are touching the grid as little as possible. And interestingly enough, we are seeing often that 2 batteries has been advantageous for a lot of homeowners. So here's an example, just a side-by-side of solar only. So let's look at the stats here. 10 kilowatt hour inverter, 11.5 kW solar system. And all of these 2 have 2 batteries on them. So let's see, in terms of ROI, solar only, the payback's about 13 years. The rate saver solution, this is self-consumption only, 8.1 years with a 2 battery system. And then if we're talking about battery backup, maybe we add that backup solution plus the self-consumption. Of course, when that homeowner has battery backup, they have the capability of self-consumption as well. This is adding about 0.6 years to the ROI if they're adding backup to this home. We're seeing, and I would love to hear any best practices from the group as well that you're seeing, but we are seeing that if that homeowner does a 1 battery solution, that generally an 80% offset of the utility bill is advantageous. And if they're doing over 100 or 150, up to 115% offset, that a 2 battery solution has been advantageous. You have to remember as well, in terms of daily consumption, if that homeowner is using the bulk of their energy at night, a lot of times 2 battery solutions will be more advantageous. And just remember, because of those power hours in September, they have the ability to discharge both of those batteries to leverage those high export times of year. So it allows them to obtain more credits during that time. Speaking of power hours, so here's that example. So with SolarEdge, you can actually get more from that export period because we're considered a 2-hour battery. This allows us to export that entire battery, that entire duration of the battery during those 2 hours, whereas our microinverter counterpart only has the capability of going up to 7.6 kilowatt hours during that time. So we're making your homeowners a bit more money as we are a 2-hour battery with that home. And remember, if you have 2 batteries on that system, that homeowner can export both, making even more money from the utility. Okay, so going to take a brief pause here, see if we have any questions coming into the questions box. Remember, utilize the questions box to ask any questions you have. I do see here, so just to confirm, the rate saver solution does not have backup capabilities. Correct. So I do want to reiterate that the battery itself is the same exact battery. So the SolarEdge battery is the same battery whether you do backup or don't do backup. The thing that's missing there is the backup interface, which is what is disconnecting the home from the grid. So same equipment as it pertains to the battery, but the rate saver solution doesn't have a backup interface. You can always go back to that homeowner and add a backup interface later if that homeowner decides they want backup power in an outage. Great questions, keep them coming. So what are some advantages of the SolarEdge home battery? Remember, we have a full ecosystem of products that you can offer your homeowners. Remember that there are 3 batteries that you can add to 1 inverter, and 3 inverters per home. So here's that backup interface I mentioned. This is what's allowing us to disconnect from the grid in an outage scenario. If you have this, that homeowner will have backup capability. If you don't have this in the installation, you're doing that rate saver self-consumption only battery. We also have an EV charger that is integrated fully into that solar system. One huge advantage is it's sharing breaker space with that inverter. So it's allowing you to avoid main panel upgrades as well. But a really big piece of this whole ecosystem is all of these components are now talking to each other and making intelligent decisions in terms of that home's energy. So that's a huge advantage of going with an entire ecosystem of products because they can talk to each other. We can make intelligent decisions for that homeowner. So here's that battery. This is a 10 kilowatt hour battery, 9.7 kilowatt hour usable capacity. So we can discharge that to 100%. We'll talk about efficiency a little bit more in just a second because that's really our bread and butter when it comes to a DC coupled solution. But another important piece that we offer in this battery is the warranty and unlimited cycles. So you're going to hear a lot like a 10-year, 70% capacity retention. Some of our competitors do 15-year, 60% capacity retention, but most of the batteries in the market right now have a cycle limit. In a situation with time of use, for example, unlimited cycles is very important because it allows that homeowner to charge and discharge as many times as they need to without being at risk of warranty. 3 batteries per inverter, so we can stack both power and capacity. We are rated for indoor outdoor installation, and another really important part for us is safety. So we have UL 9540A certification, which is the highest safety standard in solar batteries. Okay, so let's talk about the efficiency piece, DC coupled, because this is really setting us apart. When you have a DC coupled solution with SolarEdge, what this means is you only have to convert that energy one time because our smart energy devices, that battery and the solar, are both on the DC side of the inverter. So we convert at one central location, which is our inverter. If we're looking at AC coupled solutions in the market right now, they have to go through 3 different conversions of energy before we can utilize it in the house. So that solar system and the battery work somewhat independently. The inverters are typically on the roof in this case, and then there's also inverters within the battery in order to make these conversions. So what happens when you have 3 conversions of energy before you can use it in the home versus 1? Energy loss, right? So every single time you convert, you dilute that energy a little bit and you lose it. We want to have as minimal of loss as we can. So we have 1 conversion of energy. What this equates to for your homeowners is a difference of about 10 days of free power from the SolarEdge battery if we're cycling on a daily basis. If that homeowner is charging and discharging daily, they will get about 10 free days of power a year from our SolarEdge battery when compared to a same sized battery on the AC side. Here's what I mentioned about the main panel upgrade avoidance. So this is the way we do it. Remember, all of our smart energy devices are on the DC side, so we are sharing breaker space with that inverter. So the solar system, the battery, and the EV charger all wire into the inverter, and that then takes up the space in the main service panel. In an AC coupled solution, each of these items will be taking up separate space, which is adding to the strain on that main service panel and increasing risk of main panel upgrade. So let's talk about that 7.6 kW inverter again. It's my favorite inverter because you have a lot of flexibility there. That sits on a 40 amp breaker. So let's say you have a 200 amp service panel. That's going to allow you to put 15.2 kW solar, up to 3 batteries, and an EV charger on a 40 amp breaker on a 200 amp service panel. We also have the ability to put up a 7.6 kW solar system on a 100 amp service panel. I know in California, we're running into still quite a few 100 amp service panels. If you're looking to avoid main panel upgrades, I'd recommend designing with SolarEdge and seeing if you can avoid those main panel upgrades, because we do have much more flexibility on that side of things. So I'm sure that you have heard me talk about this 200% oversizing, and you're probably saying, why the heck would I do that? Because that's going to cause excessive clipping, right? We usually don't want to oversize. Usually a rule of thumb is what, 140% for a lot of people, 130% in that range. But here's the good news, and I want to go back to this illustration to really show it, is because we're on the DC side of the solar system, this allows us to take advantage of that energy that would normally be clipped. We can actually charge the battery directly with that DC energy. So we can oversize that inverter and we can leverage that clipped energy to charge the battery on a daily basis. So what this means for you is more flexibility for expansion, number one, but also the ability to put a smaller inverter on the home to avoid main panel upgrades, limit cost, etc. So this allows you to really leverage that clipped energy when possible. Everything is integrated into the My SolarEdge app. So this is another reason why ecosystems are important, right? We want everything to be in the same app so the homeowner can manage all of their smart energy devices alongside the solar system. So this is going to show your homeowners how much solar they're producing and where that energy is going, whether it's going into the house, the battery, the car. They can see production and consumption because that inverter has a built-in production and consumption meter. And it really gives them the visibility that they need for an entire ecosystem of products. Additionally, remember, it allows us to discharge during advantageous times for that homeowner as well. So we have an algorithm on the back end that states if that homeowner is going to be making money by exporting their battery, we're going to discharge that battery and export. So the SolarEdge battery is really honestly built for California because you are able to have additional power, 10 days of additional power every single year when compared to an AC coupled solution. We can capture clipped energy, and that's allowing us to leverage oversizing much more than our counterparts. You can fully discharge this battery during those high export rates of energy. You have unlimited cycles, so that warranty allows you to charge and discharge as many times as you need to. And we have smart technology on the back end that allows you to charge and discharge when it's most advantageous for that homeowner. We hear a lot from homeowners, well, what do I have to do? What do I have to do manually in order to ensure I'm using my battery effectively? And your homeowners on our side don't have to do anything because we're building that in as a automated process. But what if that homeowner does need backup? Remember, all you have to do is just add that backup interface. So this is the auto transfer switch, the auto disconnect. It allows you to have up to 3 inverters on one backup interface. And this also has a built-in consumption meter as well. So your homeowners will have the consumption meter in this as well for their backup solution. So when we're talking about a backup situation, we really want to ensure, what happened to my check marks? So we really want to ensure that you have enough battery life for a backup solution. So I don't know what happened to my check marks here, but let's go through it real quick. So 1 battery is essential loads backup. What you would typically be backing up here is 8 to 10 critical loads. And when we think about the backup, we have to think about what are continuous loads versus intermittent loads. That's a fancy way of saying what's going to be running the entire time in an outage versus what are we going to turn on and off in an outage. Usually a good rule of thumb is 3 continuous loads, even with 1 battery system, and being able to run 2 to 3 intermittent loads simultaneously is a good rule of thumb. So we usually say back up about 8 to 10 circuits, assuming that about 3 of them are going to be continuous, and you're going to turn on and off 2 to 3 at a time. 2 batteries has been really popular lately because this allows homeowners more flexibility in terms of adding a couple more heavier loads. So if you're in an area that has well pumps, for example, or if you're in an area that has that needs portable AC or heater, maybe window unit, even split system air conditioners. We've been able to put a 3-ton AC on a 2 battery system. So that gives homeowners the flexibility to add a little bit more. And then the 3 battery system, of course, is whole home backup. So when you have a homeowner that needs whole home backup capabilities, that 3+ battery system with additional load calculations is what we would be looking at. All right, looking back at the questions here, looks like we're covering most of them as we go. Yes, so SolarEdge battery is a 10 kilowatt-hour battery, but you have the ability to stack up to 3 per inverter. So 30 kilowatt hours and 5 kW continuous power per battery. So here's something to check out. So we do have resources for NEM 3 as well. If you want to scan this QR code, we have a great homeowner pitch deck, 1-pager FAQs, really some guides to help your sales team sell the value of solar and batteries in NEM 3 environment. Remember, let's try to avoid even using the term NEM 3 with homeowners, but really selling the value of solar plus batteries in this new California market. As Josh mentioned, Soligent really values training, and he puts a lot of training on. We also put a lot of training on here at SolarEdge. So more than happy to set up additional trainings. This was just, a glimpse of training on NEM 3, but more than happy to do role plays with your teams or additional deep dives. Our SolarEdge designer tool also is great to take a look at in order to really design accurate systems based on the self-consumption rate schedule. So we have that all built into our back end as well. So take a look at SolarEdge Designer if you are looking to do some additional designs within NEM3. I'm going to put my email address in the chat box just in case you want to reach out to schedule more trainings. I'm going to look back here on the questions box, and it looks like we really answered all. Oh, here's a good question. So the EV charger, is the EV charger a level 2 charger that is compatible with all electric vehicles? Yes. So that SolarEdge charger is level 2, compatible with all EVs. It has an extended cable length of 25 feet. And as I mentioned, fully integrated into the solar system. So simple installation to wire into that inverter at time of solar installation. We're seeing a lot of people just using that as you know, an additional value add and upsell for homeowners. All right. So I will turn my camera back on to say hi and bye to everybody. And Josh, I'm going to turn it back over to you as well.
Wow, knocking it out of the park. Michelle Spina from SolarEdge, way to go. We're so thankful that you provided us the educational value that you did today, especially as it pertains to how to sell. I noticed back there on one of the slides, you had some great questions for salespeople to ask customers. I noticed they were open-ended questions designed to get the customer to talk. Folks, would you like to be successful and help your customers thrive with energy storage under NEM3 in California or throughout the nation? Like Michelle said, there are learning opportunities on a regular basis with SolarEdge at their website. Also as well, personal one-on-one trainings for you and your sales team with us here at Soligent. If you'd like to schedule more time with SolarEdge for your team and for your customers, reach out to us. Email me today, storage@soligent.net. That's storage@soligent.net. Michelle, thank you so much for being here and hosting SolarEdge NEM3 Strategies Selling Storage with Soligent and SolarEdge right here at the Soligent YouTube channel. Well, you'll be able to listen to and watch this video on demand